Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program Discuss. And I'm Samuel D. Today, we focus our attention on issues that sit at the heart of Nigerians' development story, public fund, and accountability. And then we'll be having serious conversation around following the money for development. So we'll be having major conversations around that. For over a decade, civil society organizations, investigates journalists, citizens have raised concerns about how public resources are spent, whether they reach the communities they are meant for, and how transparent government processes really are. On the program today, we will unpack questions on budget transparency, community monitoring, and also the role of accountability in achieving sustainable development. Welcome to the program. To help us unpack all of this is the Secretary General of Connected Development, one of the leading civil society organizations here in Nigeria with over a decade of experience in tracking public funds and also getting back public funds and also making sure the funds that is allocated to communities and to the people actually gets to them. Joining me live to unpack this major conversation is Mukhtar Modibo. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yes. So let's, civil society, and let's, for context, what does the following, the term, follow the money, one of your latest initiative, what does this really mean in a current Nigerian context? For a layman staying at home to have a proper understanding, so before we build on that.
Yeah, so if you look at what the follow the money, as the name implies, it's looking at tracking government spendings, it's looking at tracking international aid spendings, and it's looking at, giving back people commitment. We all understand that democracy is all about question and answer, demand and supply. So what we do with the follow the money is to now educate or build people's capacity on how to really engage government, or how to be deliberate around engagement of government, and how to be systematic. Systematic in the sense that you ask the right questions that you're supposed to ask, and then you're expected to get the right response you're supposed to get. So with Follow the Money, we were looking for something catchy, something that will be enticing for people, despite the fact that there are a lot of disbelief and lack of trust among citizen and government and citizen. And then one of the major things we're trying to break is that point of ownership for citizens to know that government is all about them, and without them there will not be government. There's the fact that all of us cannot be in government. That's why we choose some few people among us to represent us. So Follow the Money is there to tell people that, the people you send to represent you are actually there to represent you, so that they will understand that these are what they are supposed to do, this is how they're supposed to do it, and then get the answers. Yeah.
Okay. So now, in the past decade, your organization have been tracking public funds and mismanagement. So what are the patterns that, the recurring patterns that you might have witnessed during the process of tracking most of these monies?
Yeah, so pretty much what we've been doing over time is to look at where the money are coming from and where the monies go. So if you look at trend pattern that we've been seeing is around over budgeting, issues of budget padding, issues of lack of ownership among citizens, or issues of having budget without proper need assessment, right? It's something we've always been talking about. And if you look at how we have been funding our budget, most times over a decade, one of the recurrent issues has always been issues of borrowings from different levels of government, from the state and then the federal government. That issues of borrowing without proper point of borrowing. As a government, before you borrow any money, be it from local investors or international investors, there are needs, there are set down rules that they're supposed to be a proper analysis on what you're borrowing, how you're borrowing, and what you're going to use the money for. That's a proper cost-benefit analysis. It's called cost-benefit analysis. So, you know, there have been that point of trend that we keep telling people, you know, for you to borrow, you need that proper cost-benefit analysis. And we've not been seeing that in our government, and that's have been a thing that we've been doing. And another thing from the citizen side, you know, there are a lot of initiatives that government are trying to do so that they can engage government, from introduction of the citizen budget, where government try to simplify the budget document, or from that cumbersome form of document to just simplify it in such a way that people will understand it. It's another thing that we see. And another thing, if I may say, it's issues of gender responsive responsiveness of the budget. You know, gender responsiveness of budgets are looking at how inclusive, or how inclusion is part and parcel of the budget. So these are things that have been recurring. But I have to say, over time, we've not been running that 12 months calendar cycle of budget. But you know, from last 2 years to this moment, you know, it's something that we see has changed. You know, we're running that in as much as with this year, because of some level of transition in government. You know, we have a new government now from another government. I can confidently tell you that we are running a concurrent 3 different budgets, from the supplementary budget, the last budget, and then presently this budget. I know somewhere last month there was a conversation that the president wrote to the National Assembly seeking permission to continue running the 2024 budget till the end of the year. So it's something that we've not seen, but you know, that's what it is.
You know, you made mention of budget padding, and you know, most of the times Nigerians get to talk about, yes, they padded the budget, this one added this, that one added this. Can you like maybe throw more light on that angle, so as people would have a clear understanding on why sometimes it's necessary to have this budget padding, and also extend the light to the angle of allocations as well?
All right. So budget padding completely is not a thing. It's a usual process.
Okay.
And when I say it's a usual process, in the sense that there is what is called budget cycle.
Okay.
And the cycle starts from somewhere and it ends at somewhere. Now, the first point of the cycle, it starts from MDAs, that's ministries, department, and agencies, right? We've got departments under ministries, we've got agencies under ministries, right? That they are the ones that are supposed to conduct need assessment from the people to understand this is what people want, because budget is the wants and the needs of the people, right? So what they are doing is putting it together, right, as a ministry. So that's why whenever you go to every ministry, you know, every ministry has what is called Department of Research and Statistics and what have you. These are people that put together all the ones, the engineers, the technical department put together all these things and then put them together and then submit it to a ministry that is called Ministry of Budget and Planning. In states, there are mostly part of ministries of finance. Now, when they put it together, they present it to the State Executive Council or the Federal Executive Council, which puts them together and then submit the president or the governor or the chairman, submit it to the national, states, or the local government assemblies, right? Now, if they present it, they accept it, and then they do what is called their processes from the communities, the committee sittings to the first hearing, the second hearing before passing it. Now, the process is, you know, as members, you know, back in the days, we inculcated something called constituency project. It's something that has been US do something like that, constituency project and what have you, where members are people that are more closer to communities. They are more closer to the people. So people sort of nominate or inform them about what they want and what they need. So most of the times, if this thing is not captured in the budget, this is where members nominate that project to be added or inculcated into the budget. That is part of the budget padding. So members, their main job there is to now see how they can represent their communities by putting in together what their community wants and need. But it will be attached to a ministry, or agency or department. So that's why you see mostly issues that has to do with rural electrification. We have REA. When it comes to school, we have the UBEC. When it comes to health, we have the MPSCDA and what have you. So that's where they get these things added. So sometimes when we talk about budget padding, right, in the bad way, that is when members inculcate some things that is outrageous or is not needed or something like that. So
Okay,
that's
do you think,
why,
you know, a typical Nigerian man feels when he hears the word budget padding, the first thing that comes to mind is corruption.
Yes.
And illegalities.
Yes.
So do you really think that happens most times when budget padding happens?
Yeah, you know, one of the reasons why Nigerians do think that is because, you know, there's a difference between what is called private and what is called public.
Public, yes.
So anything you're adding, ideally you should inform the public.
Public, yes.
Now, if public have sort of information, if the information is out there, the public will not panic or the public will not be informed. They might not be misinformed about that issue. Definitely, they will act upon. So why things like that happen? Perception is a very big thing. You know, when it comes to governance, for me, I always talk about sustainability and stability, right? And I always talk about perception, trust, and belief. Because if people don't perceive, if people have a perception about things, definitely, you know, there will be lack of trust. And if there is lack of trust, definitely lack of belief will be there. So whatever you're trying to bring, people will just go ahead and think that, oh, okay, everything you're doing is wrong or is that. And over time, one of the reasons when we noticed that we have to, as an organization, we started a campaign or a project called Project Trust, where we try to build people's capacity in understanding and process to be able to trust the process that governments are trying to initiate so that they can move with the process and then achieve what they want to achieve.
All right, let's talk about government from the government angle now. You know, funds are being allocated and funds are meant to be tracked and being monitored to the teeth to make sure that this money gets to the community. So now from the government, and how do you think the government are doing so far in terms of tracking all of these public funds?
All right. So one thing I will say, each and every department, agency, or ministry you see of government have what is called monitoring and evaluation unit of that ministry, right?
Yes.
What they are meant to do is to do what is called check and balance. Now, you asked for this. That same thing was provided. You know, that department is meant to check, balance the equation so that it goes back and reports. So ministries of budget and planning are not just to, or budget and planning is not just to do budget, dash out money and what have you, but to also checkmate. And that's why we have an office that is called the Auditor General Office.
Yes.
And if you see that, Auditor General always brings out, every year brings out the Auditor General's report. That's the audit report of the country,
yes.
right? And basically, if you look at the report, you will see that there have been a lot of shambles on that because a lot of ministries or agencies and MDAs are not sending their audited report. I know one of the main issue we've had is our oil and gas company, that's the NNPC, have had that kind of issue where the members were saying a lot of things. But and as an organization, I know there was a time that we were advocating for the review in the passage of the Auditor General's office to give it more power so that that office can be able to put it their function. So that's how the system goes. But the main issue now is what we see is there's a lot of defaults in the system of that point of having to do that audit report and what have you. And then from the beginning, if you look at maybe our contracting, are they open, you know, from the procurement's time to the contract time to all the contractual issues? Are they really being followed? But government have put in place, give it to them, they have put a lot of things in place.
Yes.
I can give you an example. There is a citizen budget where you can track with the Ministry of Budget Planning. And then BPP, that's Peru for Public Procurement, have what is called NOCOPO. NOCOPO sort of has all the, most of the datas around the contracting that the government is doing. And then we've got the FOI, even though there are a lot of conversation. FOI is Freedom of Information Law, where you write to seek clarification on government contract and what have you, but maybe it has a limit to maybe things that has to do with national security, things that has to do with military procurement and what have you. Yes, domestication is something that the language that we always hear across subnational, that's across state. But these are measures for people to see how they can, you know, build trust and track what government is doing.
Okay, let's look at this other angle, from the angle of, you know, Nigerian government investing billions annually in education, healthcare, infrastructure, yet the outcome always remains very, very weak. So where do you think the gap is, the disconnect is within, you know, Nigerian government and the educational sector, healthcare, and also infrastructure? Because the end goal for every citizen is to have a society that is livable. And then from this angles now, we've witnessed a level of activities being very weak, and then the development is not as expected based on the monies that is being pushed into those sectors. What do you think caused this disconnect?
You know, first of all, if I might say, it's from both sides, both from the government side and from the citizen side. Now, I'll give you an example. Primary education is on the sole responsibility of the people in the local government. That's why we have an agency called LEA, Local Education Authority, right? But over time, that's one good thing about the proclamation of the Supreme Court when it's talked about the local government autonomy. Over time, in a lot of states, you could see that state has stayed for almost 4 to 5 years without an elected local government chairman. So everything goes straight to the governor, right? So the main issue is, if we address education from that angle, now we look at people, we have to justify the education sector, because a lot of people you see go to teachers that are in the education sector. It's just because they are there because they don't have job elsewhere, right? So you see strikes, you see what have you. I mean, just of recent, this is the Federal Capital Territory, where we had children, pupils of primary school being at home for quite a number of months, maybe a month or two, right? Which is a problem. So from lack of infrastructure is a problem, lack of professional teachers is a problem, lack of retraining of teachers, that's training and retraining of teachers is a problem, insecurity is a problem, and then before maybe we bring cultural and religious belief and what have you that people are bringing. These are things that, you know, add to the issue. But the main issue, if we need to address it, is that point of issues of political will, right? Political will to say, okay, I want to invest on education, I want to follow it up. One of the full issue that we've always had is lack of taking ownership of government projects. We believe that if a child is roaming the street, it's because the government don't want to do. But if the government built the school, go to every school, I didn't remove any school within Abuja Metropolitan. If you ask the head teacher, one of their major issues, they will tell you that, oh, okay, maybe the people in the community sometimes come to remove the window, the fan, or our computers were vandalized and something because of insecurity, right? This is not government issue. This is an issue that community can address, right? Do you see that place as a point of call, right? As a thing to guard for your community to benefit from? If you look at the benchmark, we have Abuja Declaration benchmark. It's called UNESCO Declaration that says 10 to 15% of every country's budget should go to education. Have we met that? I don't think we've met that. I think it's just once that we had accumulatively 9% of our budget has gotten to that. So there is that need of behavioral change in the sector, right? And aside that, there is that need of infrastructural strengthening and then capacity strengthening in the sector for us to be able to meet that. When you look at the other side, maybe health sector, the problem is if government are able to provide primary health care, do we as people see primary health care as the first point of contact for us to go and access health? A lot of time is a no. And there is another thing that is called JAPA, or that in English, brain drain, right? Yes. A lot of people finish school, they want to move to Saudi, want to move to the UK or to the US to go and practice nurse or doctors. I mean, if you look at most of the subnational in the state, you see that there are that lack of professionals, experience,
but the system,
people like that.
Don't you think the system has permitted any young and coming individual to want to leave the country to go seek for greener pastures elsewhere?
So the truth is, I am not speaking for government, but I will tell you that government has a lion's share in allowing people to go, but people to have their mindset. Everybody has his own mindset of living. If you look at one of the things we pay to study in this part of the world, it's not as expensive as what people pay in that part of the world to. But if you studied, you're working here, how much is the salary?
Okay.
Can it really take care of you
for a month?
For a month, and that's the question for another day.
Yes.
The sad reality is, I tell you, the main issue is lack of belief in the system, lack of trust in the system, lack of transparency, and person to hold accountable. Because system cannot work without legitimacy. System cannot work without credibility. System cannot work without accountability. System cannot work without service. And system cannot work, above all, without having a powerhouse, something that can curtail power. So I think we need that serious revamp of our system.
Okay. Well, looking at those angles now, it makes a whole lot of sense now around the fact that, you know, the system needs to be properly put in place. And then first, the individuals need to look at it from the angle of the fact that, okay, within my locality, I can actually do more. And then, like they say, policing starts from you and then security starts from you. So if those in the rural communities now cannot, you know, take care of that borehole that the government provided, that means you don't have to hold the government accountable when that provision has been made. Now, let's look at local government autonomy for over 6 months now. You know, the Supreme Court has given the verdict, but still, we still hear reports from local governments and also that most of the local government are still yet to start receiving these monies. Since you've been following through majorly within the local government autonomy, have you gotten reports and discovered or investigated and gotten evidence that, you know, state governors and state governments still receive the allocation that is meant to go to the local government?
So categorically, I will tell you things, right? Supreme Court's job mostly is the apex body that, you know, put it the standard, right? Now, they have, you know, put in the verdict saying local government should have autonomy. But just so you know,
yes,
it has not been always like that. Like states receive money, they do joint allocation and pay to the state. In previous years, I can't really pinpoint years, but in previous years, local government do receive their money directly.
Directly, yes.
We've seen a lot of embezzlement, right?
In the local government?
Yes, there have been a lot of embezzlement. A lot of time, local government are just looking at the state. But the main question is, who conducts election for local government? So that is legitimacy that I was talking about. So the people that are manning these offices, are they legitimately elected? Right? So that's why you see most of the people in power, the party in power sort of sweep
the councils and
the councils. I think for the
government.
first time in history, right, is what happened in Rivers. I mean, you could see the numbers of videos that are coming out to say this is how the elections were conducted. But APC got to have 20 and then PDP 3, right? You know, so the main issue is, till today, what we're having is some level of enforcement, right? Enforcement is what we don't have. The Supreme Court has done its own path of saying local government should have autonomy. Are the local government receiving money? No. Go to states. If you go to a state and you hear there is still commissioner of local government, then automatically they are still doing what? The ministry sort of control. I think it's just one state that I know dismantle Bauchi, dismantle there is a Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs.
Yes.
They removed the local government and left it with Commissioner of Chieftaincy Affairs. Are the local governments of Bauchi State receiving money directly? I can confidently tell you no. You know, so all those states are still doing what? Are still accessing resources from their state. You know, there are other things that we need to really consider. If you look at a path of education, I told you LEE is supposed to do a lot of things with the UBEC, that's Universal Basic Education Commission, right? With the state Universal Basic Education Board. Does that thing happen like that? Check UBEC website today. They will tell you there are quite a number of states that are not able to access the funds, the matching funds, because, you know, they do 50-50.
Yes.
You know, they are not able to access that resources because the state was not able to provide the matching funds. Or there are states that use the money from another sector to put it together to collect the matching fund and use it for another thing. UBEC took them to court. You know, so there are a lot of things like that. So legitimacy, we need to really look at legitimacy. That's why the people that are clamoring for electoral reforms are right for us to have that deep electoral reform to see where, you know, local government and councillors elections. Local government is the closest government to the people.
Yes.
So if we get it right from there, we build it up till up there. And I want you to understand, all of us belong to a constituency. These people that are governing us are not coming from heaven. They are coming from us. So they come with the same mentality that we have. So everybody has that mentality. Let me get there and cut my own national cake. It's not everybody that is thinking around, okay, let's go there and make it right. So far as we don't have ownership, we don't strengthen the system. And I'll repeat myself, we don't have legitimacy, credibility, accountability, service, and power, then there will always be that issue of lacuna in the system.
Okay. So now, all of these things that you mentioned are actually very valid points, but now how do we bridge that gap?
Now, how to bridge the gap is citizens must be informed. Citizens must know that government is about them, is for them, is with them, is by them. And if they allow it, it will fall, right? So there are a lot of civil society organizations dashing out different form of information. Are you taking it up on yourself? Like I told you, one of the things we've been doing lately is we had a free course so that it will not be you reach out to us and we don't know what to tell you. But we had a course on Udemy. Go and take that course. You know, it's a free course to just tell you how to really ask your representative question. I mean, we've got organizations like Budget. They have been doing things around state of state or state to state, bringing out data from tax, from fact allocation, from how the IGR of state and how the state utilize those things. There are different organizations doing different things, right? But I promise you, because of lack of trust, if you check even on Twitter or on X or something, you will see the conversation that take people attention is not that of governance. It is that of something else.
Well, we'll still have continue this conversation, but let's go on a very quick break, and then when we return back, discuss continues. So stay with us. thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Discuss here on Global Television, and I have Mukhtar Modibo here, Secretary General, Follow the Money International. We're having a conversation around public accountability and also how public funds are meant to get to the communities, and also for individual citizens of each designated community to be able to track those that they send to represent them on how these monies are being spent, mostly around education, healthcare, infrastructural development, and all. But so far, Mukhtar has been, doing justice and also opening our eyes to the angles where there are so much lacunas that the government and also the citizens also need to be aware of to be able to hold these individuals accountable. And then he also brought us back to the conversation around local government autonomy based on the fact that the Supreme Court has actually given, its verdict for over a reasonable amount of time now, and yet some communities, some local government are still talking about the fact that these monies don't come to them, but we are scratching the surface to get to the end point and know what the major concerns is and how the government and the citizens of each community would work together and see to the development of the country, because the job alone is not just for the government. But now let's look at this angle also, Mukhtar, how rural communities track funds meant for schools, healthcare centers, and roads, because we see politicians during campaign go down there to the rural communities, but when it's around after election period, they themselves will say the roads are bad. So, and then always we see budget and allocation saying that, okay, this goes for road and all. How then can communities track all of these funds down to whoever the contract is awarded to?
I like to be really straight and direct, but I'll be very honest with you. Sometimes there's a difference between budget, release, and implementation. Okay. Just so you know. Okay. Now, budget looks at your wants and the needs, right? Put together, right? Pass. Release is when that resources is being released for that particular thing. Implementation is when that thing has started.
There's a trajectory of how all of this goes. Yes.
So, sometimes you can do a budget and not get funds for that particular budget. Okay. Because how do we fund our budget? We fund our budget through IGR. Okay. That's internally generated revenue. We fund our budget through privatization. That's selling government assets. Yes. Right? We form our budget through loans. That I tell you that before you access a loan in the best practice, before you access a loan, you have to do what is called cost-benefit analysis. Right? So sometimes when we do the budget and we are not able to get the resources, right, to fund that budget, it's moved to the next point of call. So coming back to how do communities engage to know about this is, one, there was a time we activated a campaign called Vote for WASH. Okay. Now, WASH is water, sanitation, and hygiene. Because we were implementing a project in a certain community, and we discovered that they have a lot of issues that has to do with water, sanitation, and hygiene. Okay. So what we told them that is, okay, anybody that is coming to ask you for a vote, because these people will come for campaign, tell them that you are doing Vote for WASH. Vote for WASH is in the sense that, what are you going to do regarding our problems? Our problems are water, sanitation, and hygiene. So if we are voting for you, we are voting because you are bringing vote.
Yes.
What did we help them with as a movement, as an organization, is we gave them a pledge card. Sign our pledge card saying you're going to do this and do this and do this, give us timeline, because we're going to hold you accountable, right? We did that with a community in Lagos, and I promise you, the present governor of Lagos signed on that, and then they followed up with that. So the first thing you need to do is you need to have interest. Yes, there is a notion a lot of times that Nigerians just say, you think these people, if they win an election, no. It's not rocket science, but we have to believe, a lot of times what I tell my friends and peers is there's a difference between miracle and change.
Change, okay.
Change involves what? Process.
Process and work.
Yes. While this one is just be, and it will be. I think that's what people want us to a lot of people want to do. Lack of that not wanting process, because you are this, let's just do this. A lot of times you hear members of House of Assemblies or state senators and what have you tell you, I don't go back home because a lot of people come with problems. You are meant to go and make laws and what have you. And I'll give you another example before I continue.
Yes.
I know of a member that we form part of an organization that is looking at how deliberate they are making efforts in the National Assembly, you know, what are their contribution, how their contribution is and what have you. But he was the best when it comes to contribution about economy, health and what have you. But he was not elected back because he doesn't go home and he doesn't give that money and what have you. So that's to tell you the part of system. So everybody needs to be carried along. If everybody is carried along, everybody will know that the job of this is to do this. The job of this is to do that. There was a debate among the social media one time that a member went to renovate graveyard. To be honest, I did not join that debate. And when someone asked me, I said, maybe that's what his community wanted. And then he introduced that, right? So if someone is doing what his community wanted, you dare not say, because his community sent him before you saw him.
You saw him, yes.
Or her, right? So the main thing is to understand that whatever you are tracking is your own. Ownership is the first thing. And that's why I said there are a lot of civil society organizations, youth groups, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations that are building people's capacity. Have interest. Emotional interest is the first thing over everything, right? Have interest in that and know how to engage government on this particular thing. And I promise you, it might not happen within blink of an eye. And that's why I define change, right? And miracle. It will not be a miracle. It will be a process. So you need to work for the process and then get that done.
You know, since we're talking about roles now that individuals need to play, let's look at legislature and anti-graft agencies and the media, what role they play. You know, the media is playing a role. Just like now.
Are you sure the media is
the media is obviously playing a role. Just like now. But now, how can we look at legislatures and also the anti-graft agencies? What role they play in making sure that people get, you know, asked questions directly about something, talking about accountability now?
Yeah, so first of all, everybody has his own different job. And that's why we have different level of government and different tiers of government.
Yes.
When you talked about media, I tell you, the information needs to be out there, and that is why the media is very important. For the anti-graft agencies, all they need to be is independency, right? If the anti-corruption agencies are independent, you know, over time, I join in conversation around Nigeria having multiplicity of anti-corruption agencies. We've got the Code of Conduct Bureau. We've got the NFIU. We've got the ICPC. We've got the EFCC, right? And there are other, in the states, you will see a lot of states are creating theirs, right? But we still see the level of corruption and what have you. And there is a mindset among people that, okay, the only reason why EFCC or ICPC will go after you is because you're not part of government. So I feel
you're not affiliated
to a political. So I think the main issue that we need to address from our anti-graft agencies is for them to be open, one. Two, to be more independent. The independency of those agencies are really very important. Right? And then, you know, most of the times, I'll give you an example with, I'm Fulani by tribe, but when the bandits, they call them Fulani bandits, were declared terrorists, I'm among the first people that say, hey, you know what, they are terrorists, they're killing people, right? So sometimes one of those things that we see, I'll give you an example. There is the former governor of Kogi State, that were shielded by young people, citizens, saying he should not be arrested. You know, why? He had a case to go and answer. But you people stop him because you feel he's our own. So one of the major issues is when we interfere with issues like that, it brings a lot of problems. So independency, for people, you know, let's justice prevail, allow justice to take its course, is something we need to really adopt.
Okay. Some people have argued, based on this conversation and in line with the former Kogi State governor, some persons have argued without political will, transparency, initiative remain, toxic and all of that. So now, in the angle of the citizens, now, just like what we saw most recently around the fact that, okay, even to the point that the state governors at some point was shielding him, and then the House of Reps members were shielding him. What level and what can be done, what sanitization can be done to make citizens wake up? Yes, even if he's innocent, since he's alleged, why can't he just go answer the question? How can, the people of Nigeria and most of these communities now wake up to the reality that, yes, even if, you feel he's innocent, but, the professional bodies in charge of monitoring and asking those questions are calling him. How can people now have this ability to have the nerve to say, yes, please just go and answer?
So let me be very, very honest with you. There is a path that government will have to play, and the people in the media have to play.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. We've had a case of, I'll call names. We've had a case in the Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Management. Two cases. The former minister, that is the one from Zamfara State,
yes.
and then the former minister, again, the one from Cross River, that's Betaidu. All of them went into investigation and what have you. The investigation was concluded. Another minister was appointed. The other minister was suspended. Till today, the information is not out there for public. And why they cry? The cry happened because the issue was misappropriation of public funds. So if it's public funds, why can't they be informed about what really happened? So one of the reasons why people are having that skeptical attitude, not the only reason, but is because they feel if you're not part of this, there are quite a number of people, there are quite a number of cases. So another point of independence is the judiciary.
Okay.
So we have to get that right. And when we don't get that right, automatically it will not be something else. There are quite a number of cases that are in court. I mean, the number of, the issue of Nigerian Air.
Yes.
Right? Yesterday, I get to see that the minister in question said all the process of Nigerian Air, all the legal process has been followed. So where is the thing? Nobody will tell you. So the independency of the judiciary is also needed. And another thing is, I would not say I'm a lawyer because I studied law, but the reality is our lawyers need to also have more thing about loving the country, knowing that we don't have any other country
law itself.
Above this very country, so that we need to all run a race and win the race together. It's not about this or this or this. It's about each and every one of us.
As we're getting set to wrap up now, let's look at what reforms are urgently needed as we speak now for to strengthen the public financial department, or would I say an accountability in Nigeria.
I think, first of all, we need to strengthen our systems.
Okay.
Second, we need to build people's capacity. The people that are managing this thing, we need to build their capacity. Third, we need to inform citizens. We need to really utilize our mandate of the NOA, that's National Orientation Agency. I'm sure it has staff across 774 local government. What exactly are they doing? We need to really inform people. See, we need to use religious bodies. Nigeria is a very religious country. We need to use that faith-based campaigns around these policies. We need to inform people about government policies, about what the government is trying to do, how the government is doing it, and what is the process so that people will, we need to build that trust between government and people and people and the government. And we need to really preach transparency, preach accountability, preach service, divide power. There is power within and there is power over,
yes.
Right? So we need to really preach that for people to understand the kind of powers they have. And we need that serious electoral reforms. Because when legitimacy is not built, credibility will never come. And when credibility is not there, then accountability will not show face. If accountability is not showing face, then service will not be there. And if service is not provided, then power will not be there.
drinking power will obviously not be there. But let's look at it now, where Nigeria gets to really follow the money. Do you think Nigeria will look like in the next decade if all of this key points you've been pointed are being followed through to the T's? How well do you think Nigerian economy and our society, how livable would you think it will be?
Good. Let's go to our vision. Our vision is we envision a world where no matter how remote an area is, we'll be able to hold government accountable and government will provide services for them. And I promise you, will be everything.
Will be everything. We want to be hopeful that then when Nigerians get really involved with activities going on in their locality, if you see something, obviously, please do say something. Public funds are the people's funds. Accountability is not just a technical process, it's about ensuring that every naira works for the common good. So this conversation has shown that following the money is not just only possible, but necessary for Nigerian growth. And this is how much time we're coming to take. I want to say very thank you to you, Mukhtar Ibo, Secretary General of Follow the Money International. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the Discuss.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and this is how much time you permit us to take on today's edition of the program. I am Samuel Odi. I'll see you again as we discuss further. Bye for now.